I greet you all and welcome you to the lesson. The subject is Governance and Compliance Audit. Today we are going to analyze the types of governance reports, elements, and structure. Three things: types, elements or contents, and structure of auditor's report. And in governance and compliance audit, the auditor's report is the final product. After planning, after going to the field, after conducting the field, after gathering evidence, the auditor has to generate a report that we are calling the auditor's report, which is the final product, and it is the formal vehicle that is used to communicate the audit findings, conclusions, and recommendations to the board of directors, to the audit committee, and also senior management. And because governance audits deal with soft areas like ethics and hard areas like laws, the report then must be balanced. The report must be evidence-based and highly structured. So by the end of this lesson, candidates should be able to analyze or explain the types of auditors' reports. You should be able to explain the elements and also the structure. So let's begin with the types of auditors' report. Types. Now there are 4 types of auditors' report. One is the unmodified report, the qualified report, adverse report, and disclaimer of report. There are 4 types. One is the unmodified or unqualified. This is a clean report. Number 2, we have the qualified report. Number 3, there is the adverse report. Then disclaimer. 4, the disclaimer. You have what we call the disclaimer of report. There are 4 types. So the unmodified report is a clean report. It is a positive report. It is issued when the auditor concludes that the organization's governance and compliance frameworks are effective in all material respects. The governance and compliance frameworks, when they are effective, then the auditor issues a clean report or unmodified report or unqualified report. Then there is this qualified report, which is issued when there are specific exceptions or gaps, but they are not pervasive enough to invalidate the entire governance system. They are the except for. It's an except for report. In this report, everything is okay apart from 1 or 2 specific areas which are not okay. But those small areas, 1 or 2 areas, are not pervasive enough to invalidate or to give a negative report. No, everything is just okay, but except for 1 or 2 specific areas. You understand? Yes. Then number 3, another type of auditor's report is the adverse report, which is issued when the auditor finds widespread and systemic failures, and that indicates that the governance structure is fundamentally broken or non-compliant. So where the organization has systemic failures, where the organization is not complying in almost all the areas, then you issue an adverse report. You write an adverse report, which is a negative report. Then lastly, there is the disclaimer of report. The disclaimer of report is issued when the auditor was unable to obtain enough evidence to write a report. Disclaimer means that the auditor did not get enough evidence. For example, there could be scope limitation. It could be that the management has not provided the auditor with the documents that are required, or the questions that the auditor asked have not been answered. Therefore, the auditor is not in a position to give any report. The auditor does not have the evidence that is required to form any opinion at all. So when that happens, then you issue a disclaimer of report. So these are 4 types of audit reports. Then let's move to the elements. Elements. What are the elements of an auditor's report? Now, every professional audit report should contain standard elements to ensure legal and professional validity. The first element is title. Title. An audit must be titled. It must be titled and it must have an addressee. Right? Usually addressed to the board of directors or to the audit committee. It must have a title. Number 2, it must have what we call executive summary. This is a 1-page brief. It is a high-level overview, and this summary is for the busy directors. The busy directors can just read 1 page and get an understanding of the entire report. It summarizes the overall health score and the top 3 to 5 critical risks that are identified. So that is it forms part of the executive summary. That is the 3rd element. The 4th element is audit opinion. Audit. An auditor's report must have an audit opinion or conclusion. The auditor's professional judgment. This is the auditor's professional judgment on the effectiveness of the controls. Opinion. Number 4, scope. If you are doing an auditor's report, then you have to indicate the scope and methodology. The report must indicate, for example, a clear description of what was audited, what was excluded, and the tools that are used. Did you use data analytics, data analysis, site visits? And scope also indicates the timing. What period does the report cover? When did you carry out the audit? For what period? So that has to be part of the elements of the report. Number 4, statement of independence. It's important that the auditor clearly states that there was no conflicts of interest, that the auditor was totally independent. This is a declaration that the auditors had no conflicts of interest. So these are 5 key elements of an auditor's report. Then there is a structure of findings. Structure. This is one of the main parts, the structure, which is just the body. The structure is the body. The body. Now, this is the most critical section, because for every weakness found, the auditor uses a structured format that has 5 C's. Okay? The first C is condition. Condition means what currently is happening, the current state of affairs. Then the second C is the criteria. What criteria did the auditor use? What should be happening? That means the laws, the policies, the international agreements, and so on, the criteria. Then the third C is the cause. The cause. Why did the gap occur? What is the root cause of the problem? If it is a non-compliance, then you don't just check the non-compliance. You indicate the reason why the company did not comply. If it is, for example, following data protection laws, then the cause could be untrained staff. That could be the cause. Maybe the staff didn't know how to deal or to interpret the law. So you indicate the cause of the non-compliance, or the cause of the gap, or the cause of the problem. Then the fourth C is the consequence. The consequence or the effect. What is the risk of non-compliance? Is it fine? Is it reputational damage? What is the cause of non-compliance? That has to be part of this structure or the body. Then the last C is corrective action. Corrective action. Corrective action, or what we call recommendation. What should the management fix? You've carried out the audit, you've identified gaps, you've identified weaknesses. So the first thing you do, we are saying you need to have a structure. This is a structure of findings, which is the body. It is the most critical section where you indicate the weaknesses that you found, and you have to use a structured format, which is called the 5 C's. In that format, you need to indicate the condition, the current state. What is the criteria? Did you use laws or regulations or policies? Then there is the cause of the gaps, the consequence of the problem. Then there is also corrective action or recommendation. Understand? Yes. So that is the structure. But it's also important to note, candidates, that part of the auditor's report, still under the content, specific content, one content of the auditor's report is the management response. It's important to indicate the management responses. The management responses or response and action plan. After the auditor identifies gaps or non-compliance in the governance and compliance systems, the auditor has to communicate these gaps to the management with the view of getting a response from management and an action plan, meaning how the management intends and when to fix the problems. So a report is not complete without the management response. And this section, the management response, includes an agreement or disagreement with the findings. Management response may include agreement. The management may agree or even disagree with the auditor's findings. This response will also have action plan. If the management agrees with the auditor, then there ought to be specific steps that the management will take to fix the problem. This will also have what we call accountability. Accountability means the names of those individuals responsible for fixing the problem. That should be part of the action plan. Then there is also the timelines. The management should indicate when exactly they intend to fix the problem, because that the expected date of completion will then be used at the follow-up stage or the follow-up phase, because the audit is not complete when the auditor closes the engagement. No, when the auditor closes the engagement, after the auditor has closed the audit file, then the follow-up process begins. So it is on the basis of these timelines that the auditor will now carry out the follow-up. Will follow up on management to ensure that the problems or the recommendations have been fixed. And that is the essence of having a governance and compliance audit. Companies don't just conduct governance and compliance audits for the sake of it. No, the purpose is to identify these problems, then the problems are fixed, and that improves the governance system or framework of an organization. So candidates, that is the end of our today's lesson on the types, elements, and structure of audit reports. We've identified 3 types of audit reports. That is the unmodified or the clean report. We've said that this is a report that is issued when the auditor concludes that the organization's governance and compliance frameworks are effective in all material respects. The qualified or except for audits, this is issued where all the governance and compliance areas have been complied with, apart from 1 or 2 specific areas. Everything is okay when this report is issued, apart from 1 or 2 areas. It is issued when there are specific exceptions or gaps, but they are not pervasive enough to invalidate the report. So that is a qualified report. Then number 2, we have the adverse report, which is a negative report. A negative report is issued when we have systemic failures where the company has not been complying in most of the areas. So an adverse or negative report is issued. Then there is a disclaimer of report that is issued where the auditor does not have sufficient appropriate evidence to make any opinion. Because remember, candidates, the auditor can only make an opinion, express an opinion when he has sufficient and appropriate evidence. But where the management, for example, did not provide the auditor with the required documents, or the questions were not answered, then the auditor may not be in a position to issue any opinion, and therefore the auditor issues a disclaimer of report, which is issued when the auditor is unable to obtain enough evidence. Reason could be scope limitation. Then in this lesson, we've studied the elements of auditor's report. We say that that report has to be titled, and it has to be addressed to the board of directors or to the executive committee. Another element is the executive summary, which is a 1-page overview of the entire report, and this executive summary is for those directors who are busy. Then there is the audit opinion, number 3. Number 3, there is scope and methodology. You have to indicate the scope and methodology, and there also be a declaration of independence or statement of independence. Then in this lesson, we've studied the structure or the body of the audit report, which is a structure of findings. It is the most critical section, and for every weakness found, the auditor uses a structured format, often called the 5 C's, which is condition, criteria, cause, consequence, and corrective action. Then part of an auditor's report is the management responses and actions. We say that the management may agree with the auditor's report or disagree with the auditor's findings. Where the management agrees with the auditor's findings, then the management is required to respond to the findings and come up with an action plan on how they are going to fix the problems, and there ought to be accountability. That means the management response should indicate the specific individuals who are going to fix the problem, and there also to be the deadlines or the timelines when the expected date of the completion is, and that will help then the auditor to do a follow-up. Thank you for attending the lesson. We continue to learn more regarding governance and compliance audit in our subsequent lessons. Bye-bye.